endings and then all the bonus stuff. They've only got like 2 endings to do.
So I let the pigeon go. I wasn't far away now, and the bird had found Kurt before.
It was a bird. It does its bird thing. Bird.
I survived, and I thought I'd heard gunshots. I had no idea if Kurt was nearby. But if he'd found Barrett, he wouldn't be safe. I had to hurry.
Just in case.
Barrett was determined and relentless. I knew he would not give up until he found me. For a fleeting moment, I almost respected him. Almost.
Come on now, my little pretty friend.
I hadn't heard it for over a year, but I'd recognize that voice anywhere. At first, they were just 2 figures in the distance. But the closer I got, the clearer it all became.
I think perhaps we got off on the wrong foot.
It was Barrett, all right. And Kurt had found him.
Hiding is not one of your strengths, I see. What was your plan, just out of interest? You come here, you find me. What then? You don't even speak English. What were you planning to do? Well, well, well. Harry? Harry Lambert? What the hell are you doing here, Harry?
His name is Kurt. Please, sir, just do what he says.
Wait. What? So you do know this Fritz?
I came here to save him. I'm so sorry, sir.
Jesus Christ, Harry! Who the hell are you fighting for?
Ich will antworten, Barrett. Antworten! Was hast du mit meinem Sohn gemacht? Sprich! Was hast du mit ihm gemacht? Antworte mir!
Please, sir, just tell us. Did you kill that prisoner back in Vinny?
I don't know what he wants. He's crazy.
Na komm! Bring ihn zum Reden, Harry.
No, he's not crazy. He's a father.
Oh, du erinnerst dich an ihn. Ja, du hast ihm eine Waffe an den Kopf gehalten. Wie ich dir jetzt meine Waffe an den Kopf halte, das war mein Sohn.
Come on, Fritz. We've all lost someone we care about. It's war.
Did you kill that prisoner back in Vinny?
I don't remember, Harry. What's the German for probably?
Ich muss wissen, was mit meinem Sohn passiert ist. Mit meinem Sohn. Mit Max. Hörst du? Max. Mein Sohn.
Look behind you, Fritz. I've got far more guns than you have.
Don't do this. Just get on your knees. I'm sure he'll calm down.
I am your commanding
Please,
officer,
sir.
Lambert. Point that gun somewhere else.
Na los! Wenn du schon hier bist, weil du alles bereust, Harry, dann töte ihn. Na komm schon!
This is where everyone dies. I thought so. Although I do believe that is reminiscent of an actual story where someone did die like a minute before peace. It might have even been shorter time than that.
In those final moments, my thoughts turned to Julia. To what could have been.
Don't weep for me, Catherine. For I do not deserve your tears. I don't know how long I've lived.
It's kind of the simple trick, isn't it? They create multiple endings, but then they create kind of
I go now to meet my mate.
2 or 3 same
the
scenarios with maybe some
I'm
dialogue
so
change,
touched.
because dialogue change doesn't have to... You know, it's easier to just redo and change the dialogue than it is to actually reanimate stuff.
I think he was trying to prove something to me. Though it matters little now.
Would we have got married? I sure would have asked. And I like to think she'd have said yes. Would we have had children? Who knows? Too late for all that now.
I did what any father would do. I would make the same choice again. There's little point in pretending otherwise. Please tell Lucy.
Only thing I do know is the story I would have told. To the kids we could have had. And it's this one. The story of a girl. A girl who worked in a photography store. In a quiet little corner of Toronto, Canada. Ah, Julia.
Alright, one more ending and then it's bonus time.
So I let the pigeon go.
Pigeon!
I survived, and I thought I'd heard gunshots. I had no idea if Kurt was nearby. But if he'd found Barrett, he wouldn't be safe. I had to hurry.
No, I suppose I could do this here actually, it says I have to reload the game again. So I say. Sorry, this is making you feel a bit weird. It's making me feel a bit weird. Yep, everything's here. Right, so what we're going to do is we'll scroll through these. We might as well do it now. And then, yeah, get the ending and then we're done. So we've seen that one. That's the intro. I know I've shown most of these off anyway, but I'll just leave them on screen for a few seconds if you want to read them, to pause them. Yeah, pause the video and read them. I would read them myself, but it's a bit early in the morning for me.
Before the war, we could go anywhere. The first 6 months, there was nothing. Then the shooting started. Then there was a curfew and no one could go out after 8. When the war started, nowhere was safe. Many innocent lives have been taken away because of the never-ending war. My childhood is passing. I will only be a child once.
It's nice that he gave them that. The trains.
Just like all my friends and classmates, I should have finished school by now. I really loved school and was doing very well. I stopped going as I was too scared. But one day when things calmed down a bit, my father took me with him to the market. But suddenly things went bad, and people were shooting at each other again. I saw two of my friends get caught in a crossfire and die, while my father was rushing me back home. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen and broke down in tears. I was very scared. I hardly slept. I thought that at any night people would knock down my door and kill me in my bed. I preferred to stay awake.
So I hear my nose whistling as well.
My family was hiding, so I hid with them. The soldier forced their way into the house. They wanted to steal everything, but my big brother resisted. So they grabbed him and dragged him out the house. They made him sit down and executed him. My mother cried out and attacked the soldier who shot my brother. So he killed her too. They took everything.
We had to flee when the soldiers arrived and the fighting began. They were shooting and setting fire to the area, so we fled and took refuge in the church. At night, the soldiers used to attack the church. Lots of people were shot, including my uncle, who died when he got to the hospital. I fled with my parents. We ended up at a camp. When my mother went out to look for firewood, some soldiers found her and shot her.
Congratulations to have found all collectibles of part 1. Let's discover how we made this project possible at Artman and DigixArt Studios. Hi, I'm Yohan Faniz, the creative director of 1111 Memories Retold.
I'm Bram Tweem and I'm the art director for 1111. So it's my job to design, tickle and tease the visuals until they convey the story and moods that we want.
This game tries to say that nothing is black or white, and even more during war times.
What if we could took all those emotions that were left behind and do a game about them?
So at the beginning of Memories Retold development, it was really a linear story. But at some point we said, what if we let the player choose what character you want to play, when you want to play?
It's been special to lend a voice to a narrative that feels very refreshing and different within the context of the World War I experience in games.
The good thing with this game is that the player can decide, you are the master of the game. So I'm not very familiar with these video games, but I was deeply impressed how exciting that is.
Both characters will change during the story, and I want the players to feel that they've travelled with them.
Damn right.
Puzzles are there to be like, if this person was in World War I, what would they be doing at this point? You connect with what the characters do in the story.
I think the art style will help convey the emotional journey by the fact that we can use things subjectively. We can use our paint strokes, angles and colour palettes and our lighting to convey more convincingly and emotively the themes.
We control the painterly effect with a set of textures that will control brush size, brush type, brush direction, and that's like a second texture which just the painterly effect sees and it'll read out all that information and start applying brush strokes on top of it.
It is very tricky to get an engine to perform what we're trying to do because there's a lot of performance overhead, and there's also just the fact that what we're trying to do is pretty uniquely human. So when a human's doing a painting, they make thousands and thousands of decisions about what marks to make, what colours to use, and that's the challenge we took on. How do we actually teach a game engine to paint?
If just one person in the world kind of played it and got to the end of it and felt deep emotion, felt connection to that moment in history and walked away like being thankful and thoughtful and considerate and overwhelmed by actually quite what had happened in history, then we'd have done a great thing.
And I think they did. I'm already deeply connected to World War One in terms of on an emotional level, because seeing the amount of people that died and going to those grave sites and seeing it, let's just say I was already sort of there anyway, but no, I definitely think this game has managed that. It's haunting, but beautiful, if that makes sense. You get a lot of planes going over, like propeller planes. It could be a helicopter, actually.
I look after my little brother. We don't like the behavior of the foster family. They hit and mistreat us. Our foster parents hit me. It hurts. When I am sleeping at night, it is all that is on my mind. When my parents were alive, I didn't receive those types of mistreatment. The foster parents don't hit my younger brother. They shout at him. He starts to cry.
Gee, I wonder why they didn't want to go back. Hmm. Martial races. And that didn't exactly change in World War II either. I mean, the First World War had a massive impact on the entirety of Europe in general. Like, I think in one of the, not sure if it's one of the early collectibles we found, but they said something like Canadians decided they wanted more independence because of it. And it's like, well, same with the Second World War. I watched let's just check this guy. I was watching an Imperial War Museum video, and it was like, how did the Second World War impact on Britain's colonies, basically. I think it was all colonies, but it was focused on the British colonies. And they were saying something like, so many of our colonies were just basically treated like cannon fodder and weren't given any respect. It was the case of they dragged all these young men out of their countries, send them to somewhere else they'd never been before, and just, if they died, they didn't care. They'd probably get a burial at most, but otherwise it was just like, oh well. And it's that sort of feeling that made a lot of people demand for independence. And I don't bloody blame them. Like, Jesus, some people like to glorify what Britain was like in those wars, but we did dodgy shit. And trying to say we didn't, yet, like, I'm not saying it was every single British person, don't get me wrong, there were heroes. There were people who fought for the freedom of their people, Battle of Britain, that sort of thing. Those people aren't the problem. It's the politicians that were the problem. It was the generals. For us, the common mantra that they always speak in like anti-war stuff is it's either used as a joke or it's used as a statement. Is that it's funny how all these politicians start these wars and yet they never actually go and fight. They just sit back 3 million miles away from the action and just, expect you to die, and they don't care. And I think that's the truth in every single war. There would have been some politicians that were very against war. There always will be politicians who are against war. I mean, current events recently, with Russia and Ukraine, is like, yeah, Putin's just sitting there. He's not going there and fighting. He's sitting in his office, his cushy office, Like, I don't like to make stuff political, but you're kind of talking about the First World War, you can't really not make it. Yes, miss. Yeah, this is how deadly it was. Just a few inhalations was enough. Many films are inspired by such masks and helmets. And Killzone.
Our home is lost. Our youth is lost while we wait for our country to return. Our wishes are lost. Our hearts are broken. Our tears have dried in the hopes you're returning. Oh, my country. Oh, my country. No one cares enough to answer my screams. Our news doesn't change. It is always the dead and the injured. Our blood becomes the headlines. This is our news. This is our daily show. Another episode of breaking news. Nothing changed except we became refugees. We hear a mother crying as she searched for her son's grave. Another mother crying as she searched for her son under the rubbles of the house. And another mother crying as she mourns over her disabled son. But our country does not know where to go to cry. Regret does not help us now. Our country is displaced.
I feel depressed knowing that my home's gone. When I think about not going back to my home, I feel homeless. How can I be happy when I lost my home, my school, my best friends, and my homeland? The worst part is I can still hear the bullets and explosions in my head. They never go away. Why is it I have to take care of myself and even have to take care of others? I met a boy today who is blind. I asked him how he had come to be this way. He said, "There's a loud explosion. I don't know what happened. I lost both of my eyes and I was not able to see my brothers and sisters' beautiful faces anymore."
Congratulations to have found all collectibles of part 2. Here is how we created the story and the music of the game.
Right now, music for video games is really the most innovative music going on at the moment. Normally I start off with a Skype conversation with Olivier, and he's got some very definite ideas of how to approach it.
Well, I think I've been very lucky to work on this game. I worked very closely with the writers. We've been discussing on a daily basis the characters. The music now is much more about telling the story.
The subtlety we want to convey in the game go through the music first. The war has to be personified in a way, and the music plays that role.
The orchestra is there to express a lot of colors. With Impressionism, I have a lot of, harmonics that are like all spread around. It's quite simple, you might say, but all of a sudden it takes like a lot of dimensions.
For us, it was story first, and it was, as long as we make a strong character-driven story and use the war as a backdrop rather than make it about the war, that was our focus.
The core aspects were in place, the two characters, the animals, but there was a lot of story and a lot of things that Digix Art wanted to get into the game.
It's difficult to find a way to express all ideas into a single experience. The coordination between the creative teams all around the world was a massive challenge, and the deadline of the game could not be changed.
You'll notice that there are no villains in this game. Each of the characters that you think may be a villain will hopefully have a redeeming arc somewhere.
When you're dealing with a subject matter like war, to talk about things in terms of good and bad and right and wrong, it just feels so absolutely wrong. We just wanted to write everybody is very, very human, and everything is just shades of morally grey. It's up to the player to kind of decide what they think is best in any given situation.
There's real opportunity for there to be an emotional response. This inherently has that built into the fabric of the storytelling by the very nature of the fact that it takes place during such an intense time in our history, and they've chosen to zero in on one side and the other side, but humanizing those two sides so that we can relate to both of them and their own experiences without it being this or that, or this is the enemy, this is not the enemy. And I think that will be really powerful.
And again, it's worked.
In the morning, I go to school. And in the afternoon, I go to the learning space. And after that, I come back home and start to study. I like to study. I like to study English letters. I'm proud of myself when I go to the center with my school bag.
I'm actually reading this as well. That's why I'm being very quiet. Yeah, he did. He abdicated not long after.
When I see other kids playing football, I have to join them. I love football. I'm not scared in the camp. There are things that I miss. We lived as a family. Now there is just the two of us, my brother and I. When we arrived, we built our own tent, but we don't have shoes, clothes, water, or kitchen equipment.
I learn much better here at the formal school. Also, the teachers are great, and I'm making many new friends here. My favorite day was the graduation festival. I was happy. There's music, and I like to have a party. I was dancing the most. It introduced me to lots of friends. I want to be a painting teacher in the future. And to do that, I have to study hard and go to college. I'm not letting my dream go.
Congratulations to have found all collectibles of part 3. This video is looking at the historical aspect of the game.
My name's Professor Peter Doyle. I'm a visiting professor in history at the University in London. Well, the level of historical accuracy is always something, of course, that we have to consider. The game has to be a game, but what we've tried to do is to approach it with as accurate a process as possible. So the game starts at the end of 1916. The war has already seen massive battles which saw and expended huge numbers of men, and that's the focus of this game, the whole of this period after the end of these titanic battles and towards the end of the war.
1111 is a game, of course, and we knew there would be some give and take before we found the balance of historical accuracy and gameplay.
Kurt is older. Their relationship is, you know, tenuous initially. They can't communicate at all. I love that about the game as well. The German character is speaking in German, and Harry is trying to communicate with him in English, and you know, initially it's kind of faulty.
Harry and Kurt, both of them are going to the front for very, very different reasons. But they have something in common. How they feel about taking the life of someone else. This is something for them that they cannot imagine.
So myself and my colleague Robin Schaefer, a German military historian, we wrote this book called Fritz and Tommy. And the idea behind that was to look at the First World War experiences of the Germans and the British, and to see their everyday lives. And one thing that we identified was just how close those guys were. What we've gleaned from all of the letters and diaries is there comes a point where there is a lull in the fighting, and there's a reason for that. The men of both sides decide, right, let's put the fighting aside, let's go into no man's land, let's do what we can for our dead, and let's respect those on each other. And so there were these impromptu communications. Again, it goes back to the real feature that men are men wherever they are, and peace is mostly in their hearts.
At our tiny level, if we can make people think about war in a different way, and maybe if it could bring a tiny, tiny piece of peace in the world, it would be nice. We would have done a great job.
Hi, I'm Kerry Mulligan, Global Ambassador for children's charity War Child UK. Thank you for collecting all the pieces to unlock this video. You have followed the stories of Jack and Eva, set in 1918. While these stories don't seem out of place in the First World War, everything you've heard actually happened to children around the world in the past 10 years. The words and experiences are real. What happened to Jack and Eva is typical for millions of children around the world who live in war-affected countries. Times change, but one thing that stays the same is that war kills, maims, traumatizes, and destroys the lives of innocent children. These stories were told to people who work for War Child, the charity for children affected by war. Right now, War Child is protecting, educating, and standing up for the rights of some of the world's most vulnerable children. Please visit warchild.org.uk to find out how you can help to ensure that no child's life is torn apart by war. Thank you.
I think that's a nice thing to do. I think it's quite nice to put these sort of things in these types of games. It's the whole spread awareness, that, and also obviously the DLC for War Child for this game is now free. But when it first came out, it was like only like $2.99. It wasn't like 50 quid or anything. It was like a simple donation basically, because all proceeds of it went to the charity itself. And I kind of wish I had paid for it a little bit now. I knew he would I don't know, just that little bit of kind of makes you feel like you even contributed a little bit more. But then the fact that they do say go to the website and see what you can do, so in a way they're going to get, like, even I'm very tempted to go and have a look at it now and see what I can
I
donate.
hadn't heard it for over a
future.
year, but I'd recognize that voice anywhere. At first, they were just
Anyway,
two
let's get
figures
this
in the
last
distance.
ending, shall we?
But the closer I got, the clearer it all became.
I'll give my final thoughts in the credits that you've seen like 70 times already.
It was Barrett, all right, and Kurt had found him.
Hiding is not one of your strengths, I see. What
But
was
my
your plan?
mustache is extremely bushy.
You come here, you find me. What then? You don't even speak English. What were you planning to do? Well, well, well. Harry? Harry Lambert? What the hell are you doing here?
Harry.
His name is Kurt. Please, sir, just do what he says.
Wait. What? So you do know this, Fritz?
I came here to save him. I'm so sorry, sir.
Jesus Christ, Harry! Who the hell are you fighting for?
Ich will antworten, Barrett. Antworten! Was hast du mit meinem Sohn gemacht? Sprich! Was hast du mit ihm gemacht? Antworte mir!
Please, sir, just tell us. Did you kill that prisoner back in Vinny?
I don't know what he wants. He's crazy.
Na komm! Bring ihn zum Reden, Harry.
No, he's not crazy. He's a father.
Oh, du erinnerst dich an ihn. Ja, du hast ihm eine Waffe an den Kopf gehalten. Wie ich dir jetzt meine Waffe an den Kopf halte, das war mein Sohn.
Come on, Fritz. We've all lost someone we care about. It's war.
Did you kill that prisoner back in Vinny?
I don't remember, Harry. What's the German for probably?
Ich muss wissen, was mit meinem Sohn passiert ist. Mit meinem Sohn. Mit Max. Hörst du? Max. Mein Sohn.
Look behind you, Fritz. I've got far more guns than you have.
Don't do this. Just get on your knees. I'm sure he'll calm down.
I am your commanding
Please,
officer,
sir.
Lambert. Point that gun somewhere else.
Na los! Wenn du schon hier bist, weil du alles bereust, Harry, dann töte ihn. Na komm schon!
Sir, please, just call off the men and tell him what he wants to
Der
hear.
Name ist Max. Max Waldner. Hörst du? Max Waldner. War mein Junge.
You think you're special just because you lost a son? The moment he pulls that trigger, your little friend here is dead.
War mein Junge.
No!
I wonder what happens if you. I don't know if the timer moves in real time or not, but I don't know. I'm just curious to see what would happen if you could do that. But we'll leave that.
So, that was it. I lost everything. They called me a traitor, a Fritz lover, a yellow. I still do.
Don't weep for me, Katrin. For I do not deserve your tears. I don't know how long I've left. I suspect only minutes. I go now to meet my maker. Or maybe the devil, if I'm so judged. Barrett is dead. I've done what I set out to do. It's finished. My task is complete. My work is done.
Word spread, even here back home. Taylor won't let me back in the store. Julia won't speak to me.
I did what
Sounds like he's a bit of a bitch.
I would make the same choice again.
Oh, how dare you
There's
not kill
little point in
someone?
pretending
Oh.
Please tell Lucy.
That's the only thing I don't agree with that
We gotta
with this ending.
understand.
Like, I get
couldn't
everyone else
shoot
turning on him, but... Oh, mind you,
He was my friend.
they're probably telling her the wrong narrative, aren't they? Well, there we go. That's all the endings done. So overall views, after watching all the behind the scenes stuff as well, I can fully agree with what they're saying. It's, I believe this is an amazingly emotional narrative game. It's, the art style is not great for collectibles, I'll give them that, but it's still, in its own way, really beautiful. Like, it literally does feel like, you know that, it's like that Vincent van Gogh movie that came out, Loving Vincent, or whatever it was, where that was kind of like his paintings moving and come to life. It's like that. This is what this art style reminds me of. You know, obviously the voice actors are brilliant. I don't recall if I've ever seen Sebastian. Oh god, is it Sebastian Soch or Soch or something? I don't know if I've seen him in anything before. Obviously Elijah Wood is the Baggins. And he's just great in everything. But no, Sebastian is really good in this. Let's see. Because knowing me, I probably have seen something with him in and just not... Because the name looks familiar. Let's have a look. But yeah, it's a beautifully narratively created game. I completely love this. Like, I think something I probably mentioned in the earlier parts, but I really do think this is a really good game and deserves to be experienced. Preferably without me waffling all over it and being an arse. Much like Valiant Hearts, which I've heard was also made by a few people that made this game, or this game was made by people who made that one. It's this interesting narrative story set in a time period that isn't all about just blowing people's heads off. In other words, it's not Battlefield 1. Because despite that trying to be the whole, oh, war is wrong, it was just, you just shot a load of people and stabbed them all. Which, yeah, that's kind of the point of a war, but you know what I'm trying to say. This kind of put it into the perspective that not everyone wants to murder everyone. Oh, you're not going to give us the actors' names, are you? Oh no, there we go. Sebastian Koch. Of course he's German. Let's have a look. Selection of his filmographies. It's mostly German stuff. Oh, he's King Uther in that god-awful Stars production of Camelot. The one with Joseph Fiennes and Jamie Campbell-Bower. And Eva Green with her... Yes. The Defeated, or Shadow Play, a Netflix series. The Name of the Rose, which looks... I've heard that one. Your Honour's his latest thing. He's mostly stuck to German-only stuff. Oh, he's Yuri Kamarov in A Good Day to Die Hard. I've only seen that film once, I don't know if that's the villain or not. I think he's the villain? He's at least one of the guys that fights him, yeah. Maybe that's where I saw his name. Yeah. Jeez, Elijah Wood's 41. He looks good for 41. looks after himself. That's why. But no, yeah, that's pretty much all to say. Really, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful game and needs to be experienced by everyone. And it makes me wonder, because that end thing there seems to imply that they're going to make more, or were going to make more anyway. Like, imagine if they did a World War II one, or in like, I don't know, a Korean War, a Napoleonic one, things like that. That'd be quite interesting. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time for whatever. I mean, Valiant Hearts is definitely going to happen, I think, after this one. But yeah. See you next time. Bye bye.